Alright, so in this video, I'll be going over one of Seneca's letters. And if you don't know what Seneca's letters were, they were pretty much a set of around 120 letters sent from Seneca to an official in Sicily named Lucilius. And as a whole, all of the letters combined were called Letters from a Stoic. And if you want to check them out, they have the entire set of all the letters on Wikipedia. And so the reason that Seneca sent these letters was to teach Lucilius how to become a better Stoic and a better person in general. So in this video, I'll be talking about this specific situation in which Lucilius wrote to Seneca about his worries on a lawsuit in which an angry man is threatening Lucilius with torture, prison, and death. So in the letter that Lucilius wrote to Seneca, he tells him that he's very scared for the future and that he doesn't want to be tortured or put to death, and that he's scared of all these things and how he's really worried about how the lawsuit's going to turn out. And so one of the first things that Seneca writes to Lucilius is that he has to stop worrying. And here, I can just grab this quote, and he says, "Why indeed is it necessary to summon trouble, to anticipate trouble and ruin the present through the fear of the future? It is indeed foolish to be unhappy now, because you may be unhappy at some future time." So right off the bat, you can see that Seneca truly believes that worrying for the future means nothing. He believes that worrying for the future will do nothing to change the outcome. Like, let's say if you're sitting in a dungeon and you're going to be executed in 5 days. Like, worrying and being anxious about the execution isn't going to change the fact that you're going to die. It doesn't matter how much fear you have for a future event. If it's coming, it's going to come. And the second point that I want to get from this is that you don't have to ruin your present. And that's what Seneca says as well. You know, like, he says, why ruin the present? Which is another huge aspect of Stoicism in general. To keep the present as enjoyable as possible and to live it as fully in it as you can is going to be one of the most important things that you can do. And this is all because of the fact that one day you're going to die. And you have to truly live and enjoy everything that you have right now. Because if you think about it, all that you really have is the present. The past has already happened and it's over, and the future hasn't even occurred yet, and it's very uncertain. So, if the present is all that you have, try to live in it and find peace within it as much as you possibly can. But anyway, let's move on to this other quote that I found to be very, very helpful. "Whatever the trouble may be, measure it in your own mind, and estimate the amount of your fear. You will thus understand that what you fear is either insignificant or short-lived." So here, what Seneca is talking about is this mental practice that you can do. And so what he's saying is to actually take that event that is making you afraid and imagine in your head that you actually went through it. He wants you to kind of measure it in your head and see how much pain it would actually take to go through the thing that you're scared of. So what you're trying to do here is that you're trying to realize that most things that you're afraid of are actually not as bad as you think they are. Most of the time, fear blows up the situation and makes it appear way worse than it really is. You have to remember that all pain is finite. All pain ends eventually. And once you've gotten through the pain, you're done and you can kind of move on and live your normal life. Alright, so in the next paragraph, Seneca kind of talks about how even if Lucilius is condemned and found guilty of the lawsuit, many people have gone through torture, imprisonment, exile, and even execution before. So he says, "Is there a worse fate that any man may fear than being burned or being killed? Name such penalties one by one, and mention the men who have scorned them." Like, you aren't the only person that has gone through pain that lies ahead. What he's saying here is that whatever pains you have now, someone else out there has probably gone through the same thing, if not worse. So it's kind of like, if other people have gone through these sufferings and pain before, why can't you? If other people have been tortured, exiled, and humiliated before, why can't you? So what Seneca is trying to tell you is that other people have gone through suffering and ended up okay, so you'll probably be fine as well. Alright, so after that, he kind of mentions the story of Mucius, the famous Roman who stuck his hand into the fire that he was supposed to be burned in. So Seneca says, "He stood and washed his own right hand, falling away piecemeal on the enemy's brazier. Nor did he withdraw the dissolving limb with its uncovered bones." So you can see that Mucius kept his hand in the fire and never took it out until the enemies took the fire away. And if you don't know the story of Mucius, basically what's happening is that Rome is under siege from this guy named Porsenna, who is the king of this group. And Mucius is a Roman soldier who volunteered to leave the city, go into the enemy encampment, and assassinate Porsenna to try to end the siege. So Mucius goes out there into the enemy's camp, and unfortunately he kills an attendant by mistake. So Mucius is then captured by Porsenna and is about to be executed when Mucius actually sticks his hand into the fire without any sign of pain. Mucius then tells Porsenna that there are 300 more soldiers just like him who have volunteered to kill him and that one of them will succeed eventually. Porsenna is so impressed and fearful of the threat that he lets Mucius go and offers peace to Rome. Imagine the amount of pain that Mucius must have went through. But not only did he put himself into the fire, he did so bravely and unfalteringly. Seneca mentions this to help Lucilius learn that people have gone through immense amounts of pain, and that pain that he will face now is not anything new or special. Many great men have suffered and died painful deaths, but in the end, they got through them. Here, Seneca is trying to explain that even the worst of pains will pass. Either the pains are too much and you'll die, or over time it will end. Pain is not forever, and it will end eventually. And so with Seneca's explanations, he consoles Lucilius and shows that even if he was found guilty of the trials, the punishment that he would suffer is not completely insurmountable. Death is nothing new. It never has been. People have lived full lives and died. This has happened tens of billions of times. Pain is also nothing new. There's nothing new about pain. Many people have, throughout history, faced massive amounts of pain, but in the end, they all got through it all. So just as Mucius got through the pain of his burning hand, you will get through the pains of whatever lies ahead of you. Remember that it will end. So finally, I just want to take a look at this quote from Seneca in his letter. "For we need to be warned and strengthened in both directions, not to love or hate life overmuch." So here, Seneca is talking about life and death. He's saying that you have to be able to disconnect from life and let it go when the time comes, but not to hate it either. He's telling you to enjoy and love life while it lasts, but not to be too attached to it. But I want to kind of expand on this idea because I think that Seneca is talking about something much larger here. With this quote, when he says not to love or hate life overmuch, he's touching on the idea of not getting too attached to something and enjoying it in the present. So in this example, to love life too much means that you treasure your own life so much that you're absolutely terrified at the thought of death. You enjoy it so much that you can't imagine yourself giving it up. And this isn't just limited to life and death. Many times people are too attached to things in their lives. Sometimes horrible things happen. It's harsh, but your parents aren't going to be on this earth forever. However tragic it is, the same goes for many of your friends and other people that you know. Relationships won't last forever. Bad things happen, and you should definitely keep it in your mind that they can very well happen. But don't get me wrong, this isn't to tell you that, you should worry when something is going to end. Enjoy it. Enjoy the thing while it lasts. Enjoy the relationship. Enjoy the time with your friends and family. And don't worry about whether they're going to end or not. But if they do end, you have to be able to say, okay, that's it. You have to be able to let the thing go and leave your life in peace. Don't get overly attached to things, but definitely enjoy them while they're in your life. Alright, so just to wrap up this video, I'll just tell you to remember that in the end, pain is not forever. Don't worry about future suffering. That will all come later. That's not now. I'll say it again because I really like the phrase, but why is it necessary to anticipate trouble and ruin the present? Why do you want to worry about the pain of the future? There's nothing that you can think about that will stop the pain from coming. It's going to come eventually, and so worrying about it is absolutely pointless. What Seneca is building on when mentioning the worthlessness of worry is the value of living in the present and enjoying everything that is going on right now. To be happy without a care or a worry in the world is one of the greatest feelings that you can have, and I think is the place that we all have to be able to reach.